Your auditions are filtered through you. So make it your own. Trust your instinct, trust your intuition, and take a chance that they may cringe. Who cares? So you don't get the job. Maybe they'll remember you, because whatever you did that made them cringe, 3 weeks from now, they need a character that makes them cringe, and they remember you. You had something authentic happen. If you got something, let it rip.
I'm never going to do this again.
Everybody grapples with this idea that you're really a fraud.
Like, I'm alive.
And that's when it clicked with me. I thought, these are not superheroes. These are just men that can do super things.
This is Matt Del Negro, and you are listening to the new stripped down 10,000 No's. This episode today is special. If you're watching it or if you're listening to it, it means I decided to pull the trigger, but I'm not really sure at the time of filming it. Really, this is something that I'm doing for one of my private clients. While we were doing our session this week, I said, I happen to be working on an audition for this comedy. I think it's pretty funny. And the plan was to kind of walk through how I approach the audition, like right from the beginning, what I'm thinking, mindset-wise, what I'm physically doing, how I write it on these index cards, why I do that, what I do specifically, and then also where I make choices to kind of tweak the lines in a way that is going to fit my humor. In this case, where it's a comedy, I want it to fit my humor, because if I don't think it's funny, it's not going to be funny. And I say this with the caveat that that could piss off some writers or producers or directors that are going to cast me or not cast me. They may say, who is this guy that he's tweaking the lines and making edits? But I always think of Yul Vasquez, who dropped in on one of our Let's Shoot the Rehearsal weekend intensive on-camera retreats. We would always bring in a VIP to talk to the group. And Yul, who has worked on so many things, talked about a friend of his a long time ago saying, when you audition, go in and play the part the way you want to play the part. Because if you get cast and you're doing it for 6 years, you're going to want to do it the way you do it. If you're being a puppet and doing what you think they want, and then you get the job, you're going to kind of feel like you're boxed in. So it's almost like you're testing the waters right now in the audition, and they're either going to say, yeah, I like Matt Del Negro and what he did with this. Oh, that was a funny little tweak he did. Or they're going to say, why is he changing things? And it's not like I change things majorly. But if they do that, then they won't cast me and they'll cast someone else. Or they're going to go, I like him. I like that he made those changes. But when it's on the day, they're going to talk about doing it the way they wrote it. But in general, with this particular client, I have been trying to get him to, I find that the gold he has is when he is doing some version of himself, when he brings it to him. He's newer to acting, and whenever he's trying to be so word perfect, I feel that he is kind of locked and a little stiff. And I've told him that. It's not something that I haven't told him. And he agrees, and we watch back. And always when I say, what would you say? Put it in your words. It's always better. So I was kind of showing him this. So I'm making this tape for him. And if we've decided to put it out as an episode, you're getting it as well. So the first thing is, when I get the audition, what I like to do, it helps me memorize a little more quickly. And it also puts it into my perspective, is I write everything out on index cards. So for this one, I think the audition was like 5 pages of sides. A lot of it was cut out, like crossed out. There's 3 scenes. The first scene was 3 index cards. The second scene was 10 index cards. And the third scene was 4 index cards. So what did I say? 3, 10, 13. So it's 17 index cards. That's it is what it is. That's actually kind of a lot, but it doesn't feel like a lot, and that's kind of what I want to talk to you about. It can feel intimidating in the beginning when you first get the audition. Sometimes you go, oh my God, there's a lot of material. I actually didn't think this was particularly a lot, but 17 index cards is kind of, it's not small. But what I like to do is, first of all, I'll put, scene 1, my character's name, and then I'll put the number of the index card for that particular scene. So 1, 2, 3, then the next one is scene 2, and 1, 2, and so on. I'll do the heading, like interior Tesla in this case. And then for my character, I'll put an M, not for Matt, for me. The whole point is I'm trying to be like a dog who I am marking my territory. I'm making this mine. Instead of me feeling like I'm going in to their project, to doing their thing with their sheet and their writing in typed out, I'm putting it in my, chicken scratch. And I'm putting an M for me, because everything is from me. I do that with the stage directions too. I do them from my character's point of view. So I only add the stuff that helps me remember whatever's going on in the scene. So when I'm working on it, I can just remember what's happening, but I do it from my perspective. I don't do it the way they have the stage directions. And I feel like psychologically that helps me to make it mine. I also feel that putting it on index cards, in addition to writing it down, making this connection that I think I've been told is scientifically proven to help you memorize more quickly. I don't know why exactly, but it does that. It slows me down to really write it, but it also allows me to be able to carry this around in my pocket for the next couple of days. If I'm walking the dogs, I can have it. I can put it in my pocket, pull it out, look at it. If I'm somewhere in public, I can do it and people aren't looking at me and seeing me with a script. It's just index cards and nobody knows what it is. So there's something about that, carrying it around with me, having it on my person. And then in terms of the tweaks that I'll make, it's really just kind of like, I'll write it out, but then I'll just think, what is the overall scene? And there was a teacher that I worked with who did this thing called narrating the scene. And it's kind of like, if you had lived this scene and you went to go tell your friend what happened, you would describe it like, okay, so I'm a driving examiner, and I've got this kid. I'm taking him on his road test, or I'm taking him out to do a test, and he's kind of a rich kid, and so I'm messing with his head, and I'm basically telling you not only the scenario, but I'm also giving you some of the subtext. And, I'm messing with his head. And then I may throw some of the actual lines in. Okay, I have him pull up to an In-N-Out burger, and I go, okay, come on, move forward. And what you're doing is when you're thinking of it and preparing it in that way, it's more loose. And especially with a comedy, I find it's more loose and more real. And you can think of the overall scene. What am I doing in the scene? And then you can go back and you can look, what was the particular line? Oh, I keep forgetting this thing. Maybe I could drill that line a little bit. But there's something about holding it loosely for a little while and then kind of doing the loose overall version. And then you can also kind of look at the exact words. And maybe there are a couple of turns of phrases that don't really fit you. I would say either keep going over them and over them and over them until they feel like they roll off your tongue. Or if they really just don't work for you, maybe you change them, put them in your own words. And again, people are going to like that or not like that. But I think if you own it and you feel good, that confidence comes through. And I'd rather have the confidence than have you word perfect. They don't really, I don't think most people, a lot of the people that I want to work with really care about the word to word. Maybe it's different if you're working for Aaron Sorkin or Shonda Rhimes, or you're working on a David Mamet play, or really any play where you want to be word perfect. Sometimes in TV, I feel like it's like if you get the intention, you get the intention. And if there's a joke and it feels overwritten to you, maybe do some kind of behavior and get the point of it, but get the laugh. Make it funny in your mouth, in your body language. That's one thing that I do. The other thing is kind of whatever the scene is, I want to set up the atmosphere of the scene. So you can do that by kind of improving into it, improving out of it at the end. And you don't have to go nuts. I mean, it doesn't have to be, I don't want you to add a whole one-act play before the actual scene or add a ton of improv at the end. You can. Sometimes you leave that in the tape, or sometimes you just improv into it for yourself with your reader to get loose and to get that first moment to not feel like you're working on a scene, to feel like you're in the middle of a conversation or in the middle of an actual thing that happened to you. And if you happen to find something cool, some cool behavior or a couple of lines, leave them in the tape, you know? Again, they may like it, they may not, but you use your judgment on what you like. So, you know, this one, there's this third scene here. It's an interview with me and the woman across from me. I'm kind of, you know, not very politically correct, and I'm basically hitting on her in a very professional setting, and I say some stuff to her. So I don't know what I'm going to do, but before the scene starts, I'm probably going to, you know, take her in, looking at her like, whoo, whoo, you know, add some stuff, wow, oof, you know, whatever, and then go into my line where I say, you know, the actual line is, I hope it's not inappropriate to say, but you are way too attractive to be working in consulting. But you know, you don't have to just start with that and be like a robot. So overall, the reason I'm giving this to my client, and if you're seeing it, you're getting it too, is make it your own. If you try to do things in a way that you think they want you to be, you're trying to guess what's inside their mind. And maybe what they want is not you. It's very well, highly probable, but by the time you see this, I didn't get cast in this job, statistically. But I think I have no shot at it if I'm trying to be what I think they want versus having some shot at it if I go, okay, in this particular case, I think the material is pretty funny. I think the character is pretty funny. There's a couple of things that don't work for me. But the overall thing, I feel like it's funny. So if I think it's funny, I think I can be funny with it. But I'm going to put it into my own body and my own words from my point of view. And I think that's the only way to have a chance to score. And even when you do that, I may make a tape, love the tape, think it's really funny. My friends may think it's really funny. Still don't get the job. You know, you can't control it. Who knows? They want someone shorter. They want someone younger. They want someone bigger. They want someone skinnier. Who knows what they want? But you can't control that. You can only control what you do with the material. And the whole thing is that as actors, we are interpreters. So there is not one way to do it. It's why so many people play Hamlet. It's what's Ray Fiennes' interpretation of Hamlet versus Pacino's interpretation of Hamlet versus Ethan Hawke's. Everybody's going to do it differently. So I want to find the Matt Del Negro impersonation of, or interpretation rather, of whatever material comes my way. That's all I can do. It's going to be filtered through me. Doesn't mean I'm playing myself. I'm playing at a character. I'm using the circumstances, but it's filtered through me. And your auditions are filtered through you. So trust your instinct, trust your intuition, and take a chance that they may cringe. Who cares? So you don't get the job. Maybe they'll remember you, because whatever you did that made them cringe, 3 weeks from now, they need a character that makes them cringe, and they remember you. You had something authentic happen. So that's my advice. Take it or leave it. Index cards, be authentic. Don't be afraid to change some things around a little bit, and improv in and out of the scenes. Don't have to put it all in the edited cut that you give them, but I think it does help with the actual life of the scene. That's what I got. All right. All right, that's it. By now, you know this episode was not ripped from one of my Insiders Acting Community Zooms, but if you dug it, it means you probably would be interested in joining our community. If so, if that sounds like you, go to 10,000nos.com to join. In the meantime, thanks for listening or watching. Either way, we're glad you're here. And remember, failure is just opportunity in disguise. You can flip the script and make your setbacks serve you. See you next time.